YouTube to realize that I have my stream going. And there we go. And I'm going to go live. I'm live. Hey, good Monday to everybody. How you doing today, guys? What's happening? I'm your handsome, humble, hairy host, Bill Sylvie. It's good to see you again today. How the heck is everyone? Did you have a good weekend? I had a pretty good one. I went to not only my favorite, but the best. And that's according to the law. I am pretty sure that the best of Orlando is actually the law, like legally the law. Comic book shop in Orlando, Gods and Monsters, down on International Drive. If you're in the Central Florida area, please do check them out. Todd and Anna are wonderful people. The shop is amazing. Vault 5421, wet your whistle back there. So, hi to all my friends down at Gods and Monsters. That's what I did Saturday. I went and picked up a couple of books for the kiddies and a few other odds and ends. I'm not sure if it's showing up, but I got a sticker to put up there. It's not stuck. It's just sitting there on the arcade machine. It's from the Japanese horror comic book Uzumaki, or Spiral Horror for you plebeians out there who don't know, who don't know your anime. Anyway, so yeah, I checked out Gods and Monsters. It's been far too long, and saw the lovely Anna and the handsome Todd, and just had a great time, just hanging out. So that was Saturday. Yesterday, you might have noticed, I did a little short form video, a little pre-recorded short form video where I was sitting over yonder at my desk talking about a computer program project that I'm working on, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But to the short form video, I'm going to start doing a lot more of those. Passerby, don't you tell her to leave the stream. Katie, you stay exactly where you're at. Just a passerby is like, Katie, go lie down and sleep again. Tell my viewers to leave. But anyway, so yes, I did a short form video. I'm going to start doing a lot of those because it tends to massage the YouTube whatchamacallit, their little algorithm, and gets more eyes locked on the channel. You know, YouTube doesn't like putting up 2.5 hour videos. I mean, literally, think about that. Kyle and I will talk longer than the movie Lawrence of Arabia is. You could put on Lawrence of the Arabia, the American type film. Actually, I think it's a British type film, but anyway, you can put on Lawrence of Arabia in background starting when Kyle and I start running our mouths on Wednesday night, and it would finish before we did, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but there you go. But yeah, YouTube doesn't like pushing those out, so if I can get some more eyeballs locked on the channel here by doing those shorter videos, I will. And I'll just find little things that I think of interest for you guys to talk about. And there's more. There's coming today, the next day, so on and etc. I may do them on weekend days. I may do them at night. But the point is, between the longer form live streams, I'll do the little pre-recorded videos and hold court on any number of slightly gaming related topics. This is the international sign for slightly gaming related. Do Lord of the Rings trilogy. Oh my god, yeah. Isn't Spartacus... I don't know if Spartacus is longer or not. I know Spartacus is a hell of a movie. Ramming speed. Boom, 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 boom. That scene is worth the price alone. Even when Spartacus was new, a movie ticket cost like $1.50, maybe. But anyway, to continue. So if you missed the short form video, it's up there, it's out there. You can go to the channel, you can check it out. It got more engagement, more watches than in a shorter amount of time than lots of stuff has. But what I talked about was a little project, a little coding project I'm working on. And yes, it is a coding project called Gembag. That, not Gym Bag, Gembag. Little play on words there. Hopefully Kyle will get a kick out of it. But what Gembag does is... Okay, so I've talked on the channel before about the Dungeon Master's Assistant Volumes 1 and 2, and they're great programs. They were designed for the whole range of computer systems at the time that they were released. And I'm just going to go down the list. You had the Commodore 64, which includes the 128. It would run on the 128. But Commodore 64, Commodore Amiga, 8-bit Atari machines, Atari ST range, IBM PC Junior, the first IBM PC. They ran under the earliest forms of DOS, 8-bit Apple machines, Apple II GS, and the Macintosh. And I'm probably missing one or two in there. I don't think they came out for like the TI or the Coleco or anything like that, but they can. But the point is, they were huge. And up until I switched from a 32-bit to a 64-bit operating system, they still ran under Windows. As old as they were, if these programs came out in like the mid-1980s, they would still work just fine under Windows because they were pure DOS applications that made no graphics calls. They made no special calls to the BIOS or anything like that to do anything. That all they had going was a minimal amount of disk access to read and write static files from. So these programs, when you would double click on one or open the command line on a 32-bit copy of Windows, Windows would go, okay, 32-bit application, I'm going to launch what's called VDM, Virtual DOS Machine, and run them. And they were so well coded that they'll even run under 32-bit Windows 10. I've tested it with a Windows 10 virtualized. Here's the problem. I don't want to run a 32-bit copy of Windows. I have 16 gigs of RAM. I have a crap load of applications that work better as 64-bit applications. So that leaves me running them under DOSBox. The chiefest problem with DOSBox is this. The guy that created DOSBox, the last stable release of DOSBox was over a decade ago. And he just said, it's done. It does everything I want it to. It's done. And I get that. He didn't include clipboard functionality between guest, that is DOSBox, and host, the computer you're running it on. So if I generate a list of stuff in Dungeon Master's Assistant on a 32-bit OS, it's running directly in the command line, and I can use the mouse to highlight and copy stuff and then paste it into other Windows documents. I can't clipboard things out of DOSBox. It doesn't work. It can't work. So what happens is when I generate a whole bunch of gems and their values, I have to save that as a file, go into the directory the file is in, that Dungeon Master's Assistant saved it in, the file folder. I got to drill down into that, take the raw, weirdly formatted file that is generated by Dungeon Master's Assistant, try and unscramble it, and then paste it in. Doing that in the middle of a game when the party acquires loot is really, really, really a massive pain in the ass. So I started working on a program in BASIC. Why BASIC? Because I understand it. I know how to write in BASIC. I don't know how to write in C. I don't know how to write in Java. I don't know how to write in Visual Basic. I don't know how to write in J++, Kubernetes, Ada, Pascal, Lattice C. I don't know those languages. I know BASIC. And basic output, I can highlight, copy, paste. So I started writing a program called Gembag that will let me do that. And I made a little announcement about it yesterday, and I guess I just did it again today. So little videos like that are things that are forthcoming. Not just me talking about the hilarity that is writing in BASIC in the year of our Lord 2021, but lots of interesting videos, little mid-step, just short videos. And yeah, I did yesterday's as a premiere. I just wanted to test the premiere feature out. So those of you that saw it premiere, thank you. So yeah, go, just a passerby, go really old school, COBOL. I actually sort of kind of have touched COBOL before, but it's been decades. So anyway, that's what the short form video is about if you haven't seen it, but there will be more short form videos about everything under the sun gaming related that I can think of, and maybe even some of them not gaming related. Maybe it'll be 5 minutes of me cooking Szechuan beef today. Who knows? You'll have to watch to find out. So I know that Tuesdays is normally the talk about what I did at the gaming table on Monday night day. And you folks seem to like that well enough. But I did some gaming this weekend, actually Saturday night. Was it Saturday night? No, it was Friday night. I'm sorry, Friday night. People do like cooking vids. Yeah, well, you know. Ooh, Delver Cooks. Maybe I'll do that. Katie might have just decided what short form video you guys are going to see today. But anyhow, so a few months ago, one of my players, and I've talked about him before, Alan Grohe, he will be on the live stream. We've just got to coordinate and get it together. It's the international sign for coordinating and getting it together. Oh, gosh, that's the second time I've used that joke. My apologies. But anyway, how to fry your dragon. Well, it is going to be Szechuan beef passerby, so. But he came to me, Alan came to me and said, I want to start a new character. His previous character was a fighter magic user, elven fighter magic user, who wound up courting and marrying an NPC magic user, elven, who took a rather gimlet-eye view of the otherwise entirely human adventuring party that he was hanging out with. Basically, we're going to live for millennia. They're not. Your life is more precious. Little racist. Little bit. I mean, she wasn't hateful about it or anything. She was just like, well, we're kind of better than them. And his character having maxed out at magic user, he was looking, and fighter, he was looking to retire that character and sort of sort of start something new. So he came to me and he said, I want to run a paladin. And I thought, well, that's just perfectly fine. I'm okay with you running a paladin. He said, I want to run a paladin of Weejoss. That's a bit strange. Now, for those of you who aren't up on your Greyhawk lore, Weejoss is a goddess of death. Not in the sense that she's like, ha ha ha, I'm the Grim Reaper, I'll get you someday, or, worship me, you black-robed necromancers, and give me all of your, blood and souls for Weejoss. I command an army of undead. She's and I think someone on Knights and Knaves said this the best. She's a psychopomp. She is a guide to the underworld. She's not evil. Well, she can be. But she's primarily lawful neutral. This is the law. Follow the law. Yes, Christopher, I have heard of Rolemaster. I have many stories about Rolemaster. But we're talking D&D today. But yes, have heard of Rolemaster. Chris over on Facebook asking. So, Weejoss, magic and death, lawful neutral. But about 20% of her followers are lawful good. Alan figured his paladin would fall into the lawful good category. Now, there are events that have taken place in my campaign. Discussing the particulars of this would be a whole separate... I would be here for the hour and change that I usually am, explaining the whys and wherefores of this. But a demon has made itself known to the party, and it has, through certain mechanisms, become lawful good. Now, you can argue that, well, then that's not a demon, but for the sake of discussion, we will call it a demon. By not immediately saying, hey, that's a demon, that is the player playing the paladin, and doing something about it, at the very least going to the inner circle of the Coven of Weejoss, his paladin lost her paladin abilities. Couldn't lay on hands, no detect evil, no protection from evil, nothing. So this creates a problem. He went to the high priestess and said, hey, I did this thing. The high priestess was more than a little miffed and poisoned the paladin. He or she drank it willingly and died, and woke up in front of Weejoss, with Weejoss scolding her for basically making a judgment call about whether or not to leave a demon alive without consulting the high priestess, without praying over it, just being, oh, hallelujah, this is awesome, a lawful good demon, you can join us. So we role-played that out, and there was very little dice rolling involved, but it was one of the best RPG sessions I think I've ever DM'd. I just wish there had been other people there. So that was Friday night, and I was like literally, okay, this is going to be just 30 minutes of banter back and forth, maybe a reaction roll or two. But we ended up playing, I think, longer than I normally do on Monday nights, with a full group adventuring and slaying stuff and everything. So it was a lot of fun. It was very good. But I don't want to take up too much more time. Looking at, just to answer a few questions before we dive over into the learning. Let's see. Katie says, people do like cooking vids. Yeah, so I think I mentioned that. Do dice have personalities? Do you roll your dice before you buy them? Probably not, and no. I just get them because I think they look neat. I'm kind of kicking myself for not, but they had a giant like literally like that big D20 at the comic shop. They have a bunch of them. I want to get one. It's a massive 20-sided die. I quite like it. I do have a D6 that I use to roll initiative at the table that probably has a weight bias to it. No, I'm not going to put it in warm salt water or milk to see if it floats on one particular side. I'm not going to do a drop test. I'm not going to cut it. I'm not going to take it to the walk-in to ask them to do an MRI on it. It's my lucky initiative die. And when I was gaming here at the house, I used that thing all the time, and all the other players hated it. They hated it. I could roll it because they claimed it would influence other dice. I could roll a 2. All you need to do is beat a 2. They could roll a 1. But that thing would catch fire and stay on fire week in and week out with initiative. And that became my initiative die. And I love it. Hello, Chris. So wait, if Chris just came in and concurrent viewers is still sitting at 6, that means somebody left. More than 6 people can be in the viewing queue, guys. I know, it's just, oh, there, YouTube caught up. Speaking of YouTube, something I noticed, much to my dismay. I don't know if this was a me thing or if this is a YouTube thing or if it's a YouTube thing because of something I'm doing, but I think it's a me thing. When I did that video, that short form video yesterday, I noticed that I was not looking good. I don't mean I wasn't. I always don't look good. I mean, the quality, the bit rate quality of the video, despite the fact that it said it was in 1080, it literally looked like one of the YouTube videos from like 2005. Rate this video 5 stars. Do a video reply. Remember that? So I don't understand why the quality was so jank. But I did notice, going back and looking at the long form videos that I've done, there's, like, none of them are in 1080p. This is a 4K camera, all right? You can shoot a Hollywood quality movie on that, assuming you have lights and sound and everything else. It's good enough to do that. It should at the least be outputting or it should at least be outputting 1080p. Now, I get it that OBS doesn't take 4K in. I get it. But I have it set to 4K now, and you guys can see me and hear me. Even if it's demuxing it down to 1080p, what is up on YouTube should be 1080p. I don't understand why it's not. I don't understand why I look like I'm being videoed through saran wrap. I don't get it. I don't get it. So we'll see after this video is done and processes what how it goes. Some folks over on the Book of Faces are commenting. Todd Nilsson, you are a handsome fellow, Bill. I, on the other hand, have a face made for podcasts. Camera res looks good now from FB Live. Okay, so Facebook only does 720p. Facebook currently does not support 1080p. I mean, I would guess as bandwidths go up and that becomes the standard, that it'll increase. But I didn't know. I didn't know if you guys were seeing something different or what. So, I know you liked the short form video yesterday. It seemed to get some good reaction, but the quality was suck. So I apologize for that. But now, with a lot of preamble, a half an hour preamble, we're going to talk about the Cleric in 1st edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. What is a Cleric? Historically, the Cleric in Dungeons and Dragons was created to put the brakes on a character who was running a vampire as their player character. Back in the wild woolly days of 1974-75, players would just go to Gary and say, can I play a Balrog? Can I play a vampire? Can I play a robot? Can this, that, or the other? And just like a paladin of Ouijas, just like an NPC demon turned good, back in the day they said, what the hell? Why not? So we wound up with a lot of wild and woolly interesting character types. The guy, and it varies. I have heard that Sir Fang was Ernie. I've heard that Sir Fang was one of the Bloom brothers. But the point is, someone ran a vampire character at the Lake Geneva table, got all the attendant powers of vampirism, including the Bela Lugosi look into my eyes. I am charming person, and you give me your treasure, sort of thing. And it kind of wound up pissing off everyone at the table. And so it was a balancing method based on the film The Witchfinder General. The fighting cleric of Dungeons and Dragons was born, with the ability to turn undead, cast healing spells, but also wear armor and carry blunt weapons. A mace that has little axe heads on the side, so it doesn't draw blood, or, a ball with iron spikes sticking out of it. It's a mace. It doesn't draw blood like a sword. Yeah, no edged weapons for clerics. So the that was basically the inception of the Cleric, and he grew and evolved in 1st edition, and then later other editions introduced priest classes and so on. Look, you 2E people and later on want to bag on me for magic user just being too generic. It's like thaumaturgical effects coordinator. That's fine. Cleric is a cool term, and I will fight you. Todd says, I always found the prohibition against edged weapons to be an odd rule. Now, I don't want to delve, no pun intended, too much into this topic, but one thing I should point out is that even in 1st edition, even by Gary's rules, some clerics can use edged weapons depending on what god they worship. There are clerics who can use spears, there are clerics who can use swords, etc. when using the World of Greyhawk boxed set guidelines for clerics. At certain levels, they gain that ability. So, Todd, just speaking about the generic cleric, yes, it's no edged weapons, although you could probably peel an apple on a well-maintained mace flange. But it does change even in first edition if you're playing with the World of Greyhawk set. That's how I always played it. I came into the game via Holmes edition. It was more of, this is how you do it. Yeah. Okay, so we know a little bit about the cleric's background. But what are they? They're just holy magic users that get to wear armor and use maces and clubs and flails and hammers and so on. And that's really it. That's really all you need to know. There's the cleric. Have a nice day, guys. I'll see you all tomorrow. No, of course that's not all there is. When we talked about spell books for magic users carry their formulas around with them written on paper. Clerics do differently. Clerics receive their magics from the divine, or infernal, and they find themselves to tap that magical power praying to a god or goddess or pantheon of gods and goddesses. Cleric spells are far less martial. If you look at most, sorry, you cry. That's twice now. You've thrown a banana peel on the stage as I've been walking back and forth, Bo. But magic users have to acquire spells by hook or by crook, by any means necessary. It's a bit of a holdover from, say, the Vance system, where magic users would go out and try and find spells to cast, to add to their library, their repertoires. Cleric's magic comes in from prayer. Clerics don't have to write spells down. There are clerical scrolls, but a cleric prays for their spells. From the outset, from first level onward, clerics automatically know specific spells. Let's take a look here. Now I'm having a little bit of a problem getting the PDF reader going. It's not switching on. Bear with me a second here. Is that if I all right, let me bring that back, and I'm going to add this here. Alright, well, I didn't mean it to do that. Alright, let me just shrink that down a little bit there. There we go. Oh, and by the way, if the light flashes, it means Fire Management 200 has deployed. So we'll all have to leave the room. No, I don't have a light up there. Let me see. I'll talk about clerics here, and I need to scroll up to clerics, and then I'll kind of expand that out a little bit. But a cleric is basically a combat priest, a combat pastor. They go out into the world, they spread and defend their religion, they fight creatures opposed to their god or goddess or what have you. And there we go. Let me size that up a little bit so you guys can read it. The principal drive of a cleric, as far as stats, the principal characteristic is going to be wisdom. Unlike magic users, and Kyle and I did kind of have a little bit of back and forth about this. Unlike magic users, clerics gain bonuses for having a higher wisdom. Cleric spells are not generally martial. You get Spiritual Hammer and Flame Strike, I think, at first and third level. Otherwise, your best offense is a good defense. You can pray, you can heal, you can cure diseases, you can remove taints from items. You can detect traps, you can back the thief up. But when it comes to spells, clerics, generally speaking, are better suited to supporting roles. That's when it comes to spells. But people who bemoan having to play the cleric generally overlook the fact you're a pretty decent fighter. Your progressions in offensive capability aren't as high as those of a capital F fighter or ranger or paladin or some combination thereof. And you don't get multiple attacks per round, but you can cast all of your spells wearing full plate and shield and carrying a weapon. You can be in the front lines. The magic user can't. And if the magic user does, the magic user is going to get what he deserves, which is, a faceful broadsword. You, the cleric, once you've cast Bless and the party is a little bit better defended, or Prayer, you can be in that front line. And you should be in that front line. You are a bastion of your faith as a cleric player. You are a holy warrior. Even if you're a cleric of Mirus, the Greyhawk goddess of love, if you put the armor on and you pick up the mace and you wade into the goblins, you're a fighter. You're a holy warrior. More so even than a paladin that we'll look at down the line. You are carrying the banner of your faith into battle. So that's definitely to be remembered about the cleric. Let's see. I do have some questions. No technical issues, but I'm just going to answer some questions. Katie says, I love playing a cleric. I love you, Katie. That's awesome. Be a cleric. And I'll tell you another awesome thing to do with clerics, and we're gonna get to this when we start talking about multi-classing and so on and etc. AD&D has this great flexibility built into it through multi-classing. And this applies straight into best practices. If you're one of those people who insists that any race can be in anything, cleric is a great combination to go at with multi-classing and make a paladin of elven kind or dwarven kind or half-orcs or half-elves. Fighter plus cleric plus lawful good can basically build you a paladin. So that's just some food for thought. Aaron says, what about orisons? Could you expand on that, Aaron, please? Could you give me a little bit more to go with it? Aaron says, I always have clerics pray when casting. Sure. Todd says, that's how I always played it. I came to the game via Holmes Edition, which is, we already talked about that. Thank you, Chris. I knew there was a rationale for that. I couldn't remember. Chris over on YouTube, for those on Facebook, says the prohibition on edged weapons comes from Odo, the Bishop of Bayeux, being shown as carrying a mace in the Bayeux Tapestry. Okay. Cantrips for clerics. I have never used them, but I generally have not used cantrips. And some for druids. So I haven't used those. I wouldn't put it. Cantrips take up, in my opinion, otherwise valuable spell casting, I hate this term, slots. Ugh. But if a magic user or a cleric or a druid, I can't remember if there's illusionist cantrips or not, but if there are cantrips available and somebody was like, look, I really want to drop one of my first level spells and take 4 cantrips instead, maybe, sure, you know, we'd look at it together. I would rule it on a case-by basis. But to go back to the book, so your cleric wants high dexterity. Your cleric wants high wisdom because wisdom gives a bonus to cleric spells, and let's go take a look at that. So if you're rolling up, if you're like, oh, I'm going to play a cleric, I'll get an 18, I'm going to put that in dex and make him a better fighter, slap yourself. And if you're going to put it anywhere but wisdom, slap yourself again. So let's look at wisdom and what it does. All right, this is on Wisdom Table 2. Adjustments for clerics. We just said our hypothetical cleric has a wisdom of 18. Fred the cleric rolls an 18 and decides to put it in wisdom. Fred the cleric gains 2 additional first level spells, 2 additional second level spells, an additional third level spell, and an additional 4th level spell. That means at first level, Fred the cleric can cast 3 cleric spells per day. Now he still has to rest, he still has to recuperate, he still has to pray to get his new spells. When Fred reaches where he can cast second level spells, which is third level cleric, remember it staggers, he doesn't just get to cast 1 second level spell. It's like, yay, I can cast second level spells. That's 1. He can cast 3. When he hits 5th level and can cast 3rd, right out of the box, he's casting 2. And when he hits 7th and can cast 4th, again, he's casting 2. And he's got all those bonuses. And look off to the right here. I'm not sure if my mouse is showing up, so I'll highlight this. If Fred only had a wisdom of 12, every time Fred casts a spell, there's a 5% chance something's going to go bad. If Fred was a 9 wisdom cleric, there's a 1 in 5 or 20% chance every time he tries to cast a spell that it's going to fail. It's going to go awry. Wisdom is of primary importance to clerics. Now, as I intimated, clerics and magic users, along with illusionists and druids, share the same strictures for the memorization of spells. There are no spell points. There is no, well, I have this many slots. Can I just cast whatever spell I want? No. You memorize your spell. Some cleric spells, and indeed some magic user spells, are reversible. Raise water, lower water. And cure light wounds, cause light wounds. But you cannot just reverse them on the fly. You must memorize. So let's take a look, just for funsies, at first level clerics. Todd says, whoa, I realize that wisdom's bonuses got dropped in 5e. 5e, yes, they did. Yes, Todd, they did. Let me take a quick look here. Under the defense part, spike growth is a good one. I'm not saying it's not. I just can't recall having ever used that one. When saying cantrip, they may be talking about the 5e version. Again, no idea. 5th edition. Let's see. Maybe I've only played 5e mostly, but I'm here learning. Well, good. Play first edition AD&D, Katie. It is awesome. It's awesome. And I hope you're taking that away here. So let's take a look at first level cleric spells. What do we do with the priestly spells? That's all the singing you guys get, sorry. So let me give you guys some scoliosis. Alright, so cleric spells. I can mostly tell you what these mean without looking at the definitions of them, so I'm going to try that. Have you ever had a player try to use the reverse of create water on a humanoid target? No, I have not. Alright. So bless. Out of the box. We're just going to look at first level spells here for clerics. I'm not going to go through the entire realm, but I do want to talk about Raise Dead and Resurrection a little bit. Or maybe we might hold off on that. But we'll see. So, 12 first level spells available to cleric. Bless. Bless is a spell that gives a divine bonus in a radius. It puts players at a +1 on their 2-hit rolls. It puts opponents at a -1 on their 2-hit rolls. So it gives some defense and it gives some offense. I believe it also adds to the saving throws of the party, but I could be thinking of prayer, which is, let's see, it's a higher level spell. Command. Command is a fun one to abuse. Command allows the cleric in question to give a one-word order to an opponent. You know, I'm going to go down to the descriptions because I want to talk about whether or not these have components and so on and etc. So fortunately, we start with clerics. Yes, that's today's thumbnail. But some notes regarding cleric spells. All material components are used by completion, with notable exceptions. The reverse might work. And do be careful. I might not do it, but there goes my light. But if you're a lawful good cleric and you're out there using cause light wounds all the time, your DM may start to kind of raise his eyebrow at that every now and again. Garhent, what's your take on Strixhaven essentially offering Prom plus D&D? If that's directed at me, Garhent, I don't play 5th edition, so it can't hurt me. Let's move on. So bless. Now, one thing you might notice is when I talked about magic user spells, the casting time on them, cleric spells have casting times too. Your character's god might take a dim view on your blood. Yeah. You need to be healing people. If you want to hurt them, hit them with a mace. Stop doing that. Signed, Dad. So here we go. Bless. Yes. It raises the morale of friendly creatures by +1. I think at this point, Gary may have been thinking of morale as a D6 based system or D10 based system. So raising the morale by +1 might not seem that much once we start to talk about morale because it's D percentile based. You may want to adjust that, but we're not talking about house rules. But just be aware that it's there, and you may just And there's another spell that does that. Magic user, it's Friends. Also raises morale by 1, I believe. So, again, it might seem a little weird. You might just go, what? That doesn't make any sense. All right. Now, casting time of Bless is 1 round. It's a full minute. It's not something you use in combat. You do. It's like, okay, all right, we know the orcs are partying down on the other side of the store. So we're going to back around the corner. Iesu Domine. And bless the party. And we're going to stay in this group of 5 by 5. And then we're going to go around and kick the door open and fight them. And morale is up. 2 hit dice rolls are +1. Now, it is reversible. You can curse your enemies and drop their 2 hit by 1. Command. So we were talking about command. It's 1 word, and it lasts for 1 minute. And it's one of those rare things that doesn't require a somatic component. That is, you don't have to dance around. You can just say it. So if the enemy has your cleric tied up and your cleric has a command memorized, you could say, surrender! And, if they failed their saving throw. There is a saving throw. And this is the first time you might see this in discussion. Creatures with intelligence of 13 or more and creatures with 6 or more hit dice are entitled to a saving throw. Creatures with 13 or higher intelligence and 6 hit dice for levels do not get 2 saving throws. But you can have fun with it. And there are some examples. Back, halt, flee, run, stop, fall, fly, go, leave, surrender, sleep, and so on. A command to die would cause the recipient to fall in a faint or cataleptic state for 1 round, but thereafter the creature would be alive and well. You could really screw with people with command. And yes, you're all thinking of the prurient stuff you could do, right? I know you guys. Bo. Anyway, create water. Destroy water obliterates without a trace, such as vapor, mist, fog, or steam, a like quantity of water. Water can be created or destroyed in an area as small as will actually contain the liquid or in an area as large as 27 cubic feet. Note that water cannot be created within a living thing, and I'm going to say water cannot be destroyed out of a living thing equally. Yeah, I'm a buzzkill. So no, you cannot kill orcas with hydroencephaly. There's no saving throw. Cure light wounds. Self-explanatory. Also note the casting time. 5 segments, not 1 segment. Detect evil. This can be a tricky one. Again, casting time is 1 round. So again, we're seeing that cleric spells don't conform to the level equals casting time in segments that magic user spells generally do. So you have to take time to cast Detect Evil. Paladins get Detect Evil just as like a PPI, a bore sight radar scan of evil. Clerics have to take a round to cast it. Todd says it does not explicitly say you cannot. You're treading on thin ice, Todd. You watch it. I'm very lawful neutral when it comes to this, Todd. That's okay, man. Look, what goes at your table goes at your table. Oh, Bo. No, okay, so just to pause for a minute. Katie says, I'm just going to read some comments here. Katie says, it's fun when you one-shot kill a guy with cause wounds. Yeah, cause light wounds. I'm not saying that your god would be like, you can never do this. Just that, like, if that's all you're doing with cure light wounds is memorizing the reverse, and you're supposed to be lawful good, your god might start to frown on it. 5e cantrips are their own level of spell. They can be used over and over and all day long, and they can do as much damage as a two-handed sword. Well, golly, Gomer Pyle, guess what I don't like to use? I mean, rules-wise. And that's not... I'm not getting up in your grill, Chris. That's a shot at 5th E, not you. Create water on a human is fun. Try it and give the player a penalty for resisting cold and lightning, but a bonus against fire. But it could also ruin scrolls or something like that if they're carrying them and they're not in watertight containers. Isn't the Warlock's bread and butter just upgrading hits? You guys, okay. You're talking about, anyway. Bo says, what I do. Command. I know you were thinking of prurient things. One-word commands that you can give monsters. Don't sit there and pretend you're not. You may not be, Bo. I'm just picking on your man. I know Bo from College Football Forum. He and I are both on Roll Damn Tide. So, I gotta rib him a little extra there. Warlock is just an 8th level magic. Right on, Chris. Chris has got the right of it. Let's see. When is there going to be a 1E AD&D Osric to avoid IP problems live play? Well, I mean, I played AD&D with Kyle just last Wednesday. Oh, that's... I'll mention at the end of the live stream about Kyle. He's still he's still the co-host. He'll still be coming back, but just some Kyle news. 1E has this feeling when you play, especially. Yeah. All right, so let's continue on looking at cleric spells. Detect magic. Again, 1 round. This is, again, a Boresight scope spell, 10 feet wide and up to 30 feet long, and can turn 60 degrees per round. That really is like radar, like modern fighter jet radar. You just slowly turn and scan and track. For the Dungeon Master's sake, stone and wood walls will block it. Now, I've heard some people say that lead will block detect magic, but it's not under the spell description. I can't remember. Let's see. Fortunately, we're kind of at the right place. Gary has some... Yeah, detect magic. It doesn't say that lead will shut out detect magic or gold or any other metal. Light. That's now... Light is usable. I deem the same as continual light. It's just not permanent. Duration is 6 turns plus 1 per level. That might as well be permanent in combat. Light is one of those spells that's overlooked, no pun intended. In combat, this is a best practice spell. If you have the wisdom to have 3 spells as a first level magic user, talk to your fellow adventurers, maybe take light as an offensive spell. Because if you cast it into the eyes of a creature, the creature will be blinded. Chris says, I don't allow continual light at my team. I don't allow continual light at my team. Just taking the piss a little, Chris. But you can also do the same with darkness. Protection from evil. Evil. Dr. Evil. Casting time, 4 segments. Duration, 3 rounds per level. Protection from evil is one of those spells you definitely want on your repertoire. When this spell is cast, it acts as if it were magical armor upon the recipient. The protection encircles the recipient at a 1-foot distance, thus preventing bodily contact by creatures of an enchanted or conjured nature, such as aerial servants, demons, devils, jinn, ifrit, elementals, imps, invisible stalkers, night hags, quasits, salamanders, water weirds, windswalker, and Zorn. What they have against New Age progressive musician John Zorn is beyond me, but I guess Gary didn't like that stuff. It's not John Zorn. Anyway. Summon animals or monsters are similarly hedged from the protected creature. Furthermore, any and all attacks launched by evil creatures incur a penalty of -2 from dice rolls to hit on the protected creature, and any saving throws caused by such attacks are made at +2 on the protected creature's dice. This spell can be reversed to become protection from good. Now, this is interesting, although it still keeps out enchanted evil creatures as well. So if you're playing an evil cleric, and you want your imp on your shoulder, and you cast protection from good, it's going to yeet him right away from you. Now, one thing I will say about protection from evil, it doesn't say that it can't work this way, but you can potentially hedge in something that cannot pass beyond protection from evil. If you have 2 clerics with protection from evil, or 3, or whatever, or a narrow enough space, you can essentially prevent one of those creatures that I just listed from doing unto you. So to continue. Purify food and drink. Underrated spell. Underrated spell. It's self-explanatory, but if your party is truly trapped underground, and, you've just got, your rations have gone putrid, or you come upon the carcass of something that is awful, it's been dead for a while, and you prepare it as food, you can use Purify food or drink to at least make it potable, palatable, whatever. Again, unusual casting time of a round. Remove fear. It's reversible. Cause fear. And it says, by touch, the cleric instills courage in the spell recipient, raising the creature's saving throw against magical fear attacks by +4 on the die rolls for 1 turn. If they've already been affected by fear and failed the appropriate saving throw, the touch allows another saving throw with a bonus of +1 on the die for every level of the caster. So you could be at 8th level and get +8 if you remove fear. Very, very sweet priestly thing to do. Don't, be not afraid. Oh, okay. So remove fear or cause fear. That's just, you just hold up pictures, stills from The Exorcist, or your student loan bill. That'll do it. Resist cold is another handy one. 1 round of casting. This is actually pretty powerful. The recipient can stand 0 degrees Fahrenheit without discomfort, even totally nude. I want to be at that photo shoot. So resist cold, a very potent spell. Do you begin to understand how much more potent cleric spells can be, other than just buff me, okay, I'll be fine. Greater cold, such as that produced by Sword of Cold, Ice Storm, Cold 1, White Dragon's Breath, must be saved against, but you get a +3, and damage sustained is 1/2 if the saving throw is not made, or 1/4 if made. So that huge ancient white dragon that breathes on the cleric who has cast Resist Cold on himself, the cleric may potentially not take much damage. Huge Ancient would be 88 points, makes his saving throw. It drops all the way down to 22 points, which for a cleric who's high enough level to be going out and facing a Huge Ancient White Dragon actually means something. Sanctuary is kind of a weird one. It's a bit like Protection from Evil. But if an opponent wants to attack the cleric, they have to make a saving throw versus spells. It doesn't prevent the operation of area attacks during the period of protection, but the cleric can't take offensive action. If you think about somebody running into a church away from the police or an opposing army and they claim sanctuary, they're like, sanctuary, please. They can't then run out and start fighting the bad guys and then run back in. That's how sanctuary functions. And that is the end of first level cleric spells. So, it's interesting that it settles right there in Henchman. So let's talk just briefly, because I want to wind this up and, mention a few things in closing, a few closing thoughts. Just like all other classes, after a cleric buys their armor, their weapons, their holy symbol, and assorted items, I strongly recommend that for successful cleric play, the prospective cleric, get yourself some hirelings. Get yourself some hirelings to accompany you into the dungeon. Faithful, obviously. But, a link boy, a bearer or two, some men-at-arms. Definitely do this. Now, you might notice I'm saying this about every class. A dungeon party in AD&D, this is a best practice, guys. This overarches everything. A dungeon adventuring party of even 5 players, magic user, fighter, cleric, thief, could be as much as 30 or 40 strong. An entire retinue going into the dungeon. Now, that doesn't make for the most stealthy approach, but it does mean you'll survive a lot longer. And if not, well, hey, you've got, maybe somebody will survive to tell the tale of you. Something that clerics absolutely have to invest in, and something I'm gonna mention this now, even if it takes a while. If you're not familiar with D&D, or at least in the specific sense, clerics have an ability that no other class has except for paladins in later levels, and we'll talk about that. Clerics have the ability to turn undead. That doesn't mean that they become zombies. Clerics have the ability to hold aloft their holy symbol. If you've seen The Exorcist, Father Merrin, the power of Christ compels you to cause undead or evil spirits to follow their command and be rebuked. Sure, Aaron, 30 or 40. 5 players, 6 to 8 hirelings each. Men-at-arms, what have you. But the high-level cleric, or not that... yes, higher-level clerics have a greater chance to turn and sometimes outright destroy undead creatures or just evil creatures in combat. Very high-level clerics can cast... not cast, can turn even demons away. So keep that in mind. Always be ready to turn evil away. Or if you're playing an evil cleric, you can command a group of zombies or skeletons or what have you. You can roll a d20, and it's in the chart is in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Where a d20 is rolled, it's compared to the chart. The more powerful undead, it's less likely that you're going to be able to turn them or command them. But the more powerful the cleric, the more likely that becomes. So by the time you've got a 20th level cleric roaming around, if you're still adventuring with them, they're destroying vampires just by holding up a cross. That is a very powerful thing that clerics can do. So, the cleric. Combat spellcaster, combat medic, combatant, and undead fighter. Guys, what's not to love? The cleric is an awesome class in 1st edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. And we'll talk about druids and their role in the clerical school of magic when we get over to the druid class. We've talked about fighters. We've talked about clerics now. And we've talked about magic users. The next core class we're going to talk about tomorrow will be thieves. We'll talk about thieves and why AD&D, which is not a skill system, seems to have a skill system. So, we will go on about that. Now, Aaron is asking, how do I DM 30 or 40? Do a show on handling that, please. I will do that, and I will launch into that. And I'm gonna take any final thoughts or questions. So let's see. Let's see. When you just had this feeling, people helping you understand when people started on 5e will be talking about something completely different when you or I use the word. Yeah. And let me just say, I'm just going to go full evangelist. If somebody's out there, like comic book stores are opening up, get-togethers are opening up. If somebody's out there running a D&D game and you feel the call and you want to run some 1st edition AD&D, do it. Play try to get people to play 1st edition AD&D. I think you'll find that they'll enjoy it because they're playing undead. I looked down and saw the word undead. They're playing a version of D&D that is more open. You're not restricted by what's on the character sheet. 5th edition went some distance to fixing that, but now they've started to unfix that. As someone said, I don't agree with the first half of the sentiment, but I see where they're coming from. That 3rd edition started out terrible and towards the end got good. 5th edition is shaping up to have started out good because I thought it was okay, and it's becoming something terrible. So, a crap guide to D&D. It's 5e, but his take on clerics is pretty good and funny. I'll check it out, Katie. I'll check it out. Chris says, turning undead is very powerful. Whites get turned 50% of the time by a 4th level cleric. Level drain is a pain, but not if you have a medium level cleric. It's not nearly as likely to happen. Level drain, schmevel drain. So you lose a level. Adventure more. You know? Our dwarven fighter, Mark's character, Grindel, got hit by a white. Level drained. Got hit by a white again. Same combat. Level drained. So he went from 9th to 7th. You know what he did? Yay! I get to do XP more. He was genuinely okay with it. People freak out over level drain like it's this huge, like, middle finger from Gary Gygax. It just keeps you in the game that much longer. That character who was on the verge of retiring, oh man, I was 2 days from retirement. Now you go out there and you adventure some more. So don't have a baby over level drain. But yes, Katie, I will check that out. So, announcements to wrap things up today, because I am famished. Due to the, shall we say, overzealousness of the government in Kyle's state in Australia, they've once again gone into lockdowns. This means that the kids are home. Dad's got to be schoolmaster. So that knocks him out of the show lineup for a little while. Not sure how long. He's disappointed. I'm disappointed, but there's nothing to be done about it. But he's got to be there, and I understand it completely. He's got to be there for the little ones. I totally get that. So he will hopefully be returning soon. When, I don't know. What that means for Wednesday, I don't know if I'll stick to evening streams on Wednesday or if I'll just do Wednesday day. I haven't decided on that yet. I'm kind of feeling like I'll do Wednesday day. Just slam through. And I want to bring up something else too about schooling and homeschooling. My 7th grader is going to be 8th grader now, is going to be homeschooling, which means during the day I will be Professor Dad. That may mean that I move the show up a little bit on the schedule, just like it was before summer started. So it may come later in the afternoons, and I apologize if that screws up anyone's schedule, but that's how it's going to be. More as we get closer to that. So, does anyone have any comments or questions or anything before we continue on about clerics? I hope it was informative. I hope you are paying attention. This is not a charade for you fans of Zucker Brothers movies. But anyhow, so a crap guide to D&D. I'll check it out. It's 5th E, but funny take on it. I will give it a look. That's about it for me, guys. I'm going to go cook lunch now. Have an absolutely stellar day. Tonight is AD&D night for me. So happy about that. Love to play D&D. What? Anyway, but I leave you with this. I was reading Scientific American this weekend, and a scientist went through the book Dune by Frank Herbert. He studied the behaviors and habits of the Fremen, and he released a paper on how the Fremen move when walking through the desert to avoid the sandworms. He did the research. The results were staggering. All right. You guys have an absolutely fantastic day. I love you all. I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Monday night AD&D roundup, and then we're gonna take a look at Thieves. Thieves may have to be split in a couple of different ways, but yeah. So I will catch you all then. Have a stellar day. Peace.